curse of the Druids' grove. In the foggy hills of old Pictland, where people still believed in old gods and stories of spirits filled the woods, lived a young fighter named Lear. Lear wasn't like the other Picts in his group. He clung to the old traditions with such passion that it made the others nervous. His ceremonies at the special rocks and prayers to the very old gods made them suspicious, and they muttered that he might be marked by bad luck. But Lear wasn't scared. He believed in the magic of the land and the creatures that lived there. This strong belief made him go deeper into the thick forest one night under the moon, following strange lights and spooky singing that sounded through the trees. As Lear ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew thick with an otherworldly chill. Shadows danced eerily around him, and the ancient trees whispered secrets of long-forgotten times. Following the ethereal lights, Lear stumbled upon a hidden grove bathed in a ghastly green glow. Deep within the forest, shadowy figures moved in a strange, swaying dance. Their chanting grew louder, swirling around them like dark smoke. Lear hid behind a twisted oak tree, his heart hammering in his chest. The figures, wrapped in moss and hidden by mist, lifted their arms towards the sky, calling on forces beyond human understanding. Fear mingled with curiosity as Lear strained to understand the words being spoken in an ancient tongue. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the grove, and Lear's foot slipped on a loose branch. In that moment, every hooded head turned towards him, their eyes burning with fury and disbelief. Stiff with fear, Lear stared back at the Druids. A jolt of energy ran through him, like the gods he prayed to were looking down at him. A harsh wind blew through the trees, and Lear knew for sure that he had wandered somewhere he shouldn't have. The night after witnessing the forbidden ritual, Lear returned to his village with a heavy heart and a mind clouded by fear. As he lay in his rough-hewn bed of furs, sleep eluded him. Visions of swirling mists and ghostly figures haunted his dreams, their whispers echoing in his ears. Days passed, yet Lear couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed within him. Strange sensations coursed through his veins like icy tendrils. Leaving him trembling in the warmth of the summer sun, his skin prickled with unseen eyes watching him, and he found himself glancing over his shoulder at shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. At first, Lear dismissed these occurrences as tricks of an overactive imagination or the lingering effects of fear. He continued to perform his rituals at the sacred stones, seeking solace in the familiar chants and offerings. But each night the dreams grew more vivid, the sensations more pronounced. One evening, as Lear tended to his fire, he noticed his reflection in a still pool of water. His eyes, once bright with determination, now held a haunted look. Dark circles marred his face, and his hands trembled as he reached for his ritual blade. It was then that he realized he could no longer deny the truth. "I am cursed," Lear whispered to the flickering flames, the words heavy with resignation. He knew deep down that the Druids had marked him, and their dark magic now seeped into his very being. Fear squeezed Lear's heart tighter as he thought about what was coming next. The path before him was fraught with uncertainty and peril. Yet, he knew he could not turn back. The curse had chosen him, and he would have to confront it or risk unleashing chaos upon his tribe. As days turned into weeks, Lear's condition deteriorated further. The curse that had taken hold of him manifested in increasingly terrifying ways. Each night, he was plagued by nightmares so vivid that he woke drenched in cold sweat, unable to distinguish reality from the haunting visions. Physically, Lear noticed changes that set him apart from his fellow tribesmen. His once strong frame now seemed to wither beneath his tunic, as if a dark force was draining his vitality. Unexplained bruises appeared on his skin, as if invisible hands had grasped him in the night. But it was the voices that troubled him the most. Whispers, barely audible yet incessant, echoed in the corners of his mind. They spoke of ancient bargains and forbidden knowledge, tempting Lear with promises of power and salvation. He fought to silence them, but they grew louder with each passing day. Fearful of endangering his tribe, Lear withdrew from his people, seeking solace in the solitude of the forest. Yet even there, he found no respite. Shadows seemed to lengthen and twist in his presence, and the once familiar paths now led him deeper into the heart of darkness. Desperation gnawed at Lear's soul as he struggled to understand the curse's grip on him. He consulted elders and wise women, but their remedies proved futile against the malevolent force that bound him. In his darkest moments, Lear wondered if there was any escape from the abyss that threatened to consume him. Every night, he felt the curse getting stronger, pushing him closer to losing his mind. But even though he was in so much pain, a tiny spark of rebellion stayed alive inside Lear. He knew he couldn't give up hope. He had to find a way to break the curse before it took over him completely and brought terrible dangers to his people. With the curse tightening its grip on him, Lear knew he had to take desperate measures to save himself and his tribe from the looming darkness. He delved deeper into ancient texts and sought out hidden lore, hoping to uncover a clue that could break the curse's hold. In his search, Lear stumbled upon an old manuscript tucked away in the dusty archives of the village. The parchment was weathered and brittle. Its ink faded with time, but it held secrets that spoke of ancient druidic rituals and the consequences of meddling with forbidden powers. As Lear figured out the mysterious words, he felt a deep dread. The bad luck that had been following him wasn't just any problem. It was a connection made with blood and ancient ceremonies. He learned that the druids, a group of religious leaders, had called forth an evil being from the spirit world and tied it to his soul because he saw something they weren't supposed to see. Dread filled Lear's heart as he realized the magnitude of his plight. He was not just fighting against a curse. He was battling an entity born of darkness itself, but amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. A faint whisper of a ritual that could sever the bond and free him from the curse's grasp. With newfound determination, Lear embarked on a perilous journey into the heart of the forest, guided by the words of the ancient manuscript. He gathered rare herbs and conducted sacred rites at the very grove where he had first encountered the druids. The air crackled with tension as he prepared to confront the malevolent entity that lurked within him. At the climax of the ritual, shadows writhed around Lear, threatening to overwhelm him. The entity, sensing its imminent release, fought back with all its spectral might. Lear's body trembled with exhaustion and fear, but he pressed on, drawing strength from the ancient spirits and the land he held dear. And then, in a dazzling burst of light and a thunderous crash, the curse shattered. Lear fell to the ground, gasping for breath as the crushing burden lifted from his soul. He knew in that moment that he had succeeded, that he had broken free from the darkness that held him captive. But victory came at a cost. Lear emerged from the grove changed, marked by the ordeal he had endured. The village welcomed him back with cautious relief, but Lear knew he could never truly return to the life he once knew. The scars of his journey would forever remind him of the price he had paid to protect his people from the shadows that lurked in the ancient woods. Armed with newfound knowledge and resolve, Lear returned to the hidden grove under the cover of night. The air was thick with an ominous silence, broken only by the faint rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. As he approached the sacred circle where the druids had invoked the curse upon him, a chill ran down his spine. Standing at the edge of the grove, Lear raised his voice in a defiant challenge. "I know you're here." He called out, his words echoing through the ancient trees. "Show yourself." For a long, silent moment, nothing moved. Then, out of the darkness, shadowy figures in hoods stepped forward. Their eyes shone with wickedness and wisdom gained from ages past. They moved smoothly and silently, forming a circle around Lear like hunters closing in on their catch. "You dare return, cursed one?" one of the druids hissed, their voice dripping with venom. "You have meddled with forces beyond your comprehension." Lear stood firm, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew he had to face the druids and the malevolent entity that they had unleashed upon him. With a steady hand, he drew forth the ancient blade passed down through generations of his people, its steel shimmering in the moonlight. The druids started chanting, their voices growing louder and more chaotic, filled with dark magic. Darkness gathered around them, swirling and moving strangely with unknown powers. Lear felt the heavy weight of the curse pressing down on him, making him feel like he might faint. But Lear was not alone. As the druids continued their incantations, he called upon the spirits of the land and the ancestors who had come before him. A surge of power coursed through his veins, filling him with a primal strength that defied the darkness. With a primal roar, Lear lunged forward, his blade slashing through the veil of shadows that surrounded the druids. Their chants faltered, their faces contorting in surprise and rage as Lear pressed his advantage. He fought with a ferocity born of desperation and determination, each strike bringing him closer to victory. And then, in a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar, the malevolent entity manifested before him. It twisted and writhed, a spectral form fueled by centuries of hatred and forbidden knowledge. But Lear stood his ground, channeling the last vestiges of his strength into one final blow. The creature shrieked as Lear's sword stabbed through its ghostly body, breaking the magic that held him captive. Darkness exploded in a flash of otherworldly fire, engulfing the clearing in a storm of pure energy. Lear stumbled backward, gasping for air and trembling, as the last traces of the curse faded away into the darkness. As the echoes of the entity's scream faded into the night, Lear stood amidst the smoldering remnants of the grove, his chest heaving with exhaustion. The druids lay defeated, their forms dissipating like smoke in the wind. The curse that had plagued him for so long was finally broken. But the victory came with a heavy price. Lear felt a profound emptiness within him, as if a part of his soul had been torn away in the struggle. He knew that to vanquish the curse, he had sacrificed more than just his physical strength. He had sacrificed a piece of himself, forever marked by the darkness he had confronted. As he surveyed the aftermath of the battle, Lear realized the enormity of his decision. He had chosen to confront the malevolent entity head-on, risking everything for the sake of his tribe and his own redemption. The path had been perilous, fraught with uncertainty and fear, but he had emerged victorious. But the scars remained, both physical and spiritual. Lear knew he could never fully return to the life he had known before the curse. The village would celebrate his triumph, but he would bear the burden of his ordeal for the rest of his days. Yet amidst the pain and loss, Lear found a sense of peace. He had proven his worth not just as a warrior, but as a guardian of his people's spiritual heritage. The lessons learned from his journey would guide him in the days to come, strengthening his resolve and deepening his connection to the land and its ancient spirits. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Lear made his way back to the village. He carried with him the knowledge that while the darkness had tested him, it had also forged him into a protector and a bearer of wisdom. And as he crossed the threshold of his home, Lear knew that he had faced the ultimate choice and made the ultimate sacrifice. His journey was far from over, but he walked with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace whatever challenges the future might bring. As days turned into weeks, the village of the Picts began to heal from the ordeal that had gripped them in fear and uncertainty. Lear, now revered as both warrior and shaman, found solace in the quiet rhythms of daily life. Though he bore the scars of his encounter with the darkness, his spirit remained strong. And so, the story of Lear, the young Pict warrior who confronted darkness and triumphed over adversity, became legend among his people. His name was spoken with reverence, a testament to the power of faith, courage, and the enduring spirit of the Picts. In the quiet moments of reflection, Lear would offer silent thanks to the spirits that had guided him through the darkest of nights. For he knew that his journey was not just a personal odyssey, but a testament to the enduring strength of his tribe and their unwavering connection to the land they called home. As the sun dipped behind the rough Pictland hills, painting the village beneath in a warm light, Lear stood proudly with his family. The years ahead seemed full of hope and chances, showing the strength of the human spirit despite old secrets and endless challenges.